Welcome everyone to the game between IM Sagar Shah taking on IM Levy Rozman, also known as Gotham Chess, the biggest YouTuber on the planet with more than 6.5 million subscribers. This is India versus USA taking place in Arlington, Texas. USA has already 3 wins to their credit, so they have won the match. But a lot of pride is at stake in this encounter as Levy and Sagar face off against each other. It will be 10 minutes plus no increment with all the lights and everything there. You can see the heart rate monitor on top of your screen. The arbiter asks the players if they are ready, and we are ready to go. Pawn to f4 by Levy. The bird's opening. Sagar responds back with d5. The knight comes to f3, and now pawn to g6 to fianchetto the bishop here. Levy goes pawn to e3, and now Sagar plays his bishop to g7. Pawn to c4, a very interesting move by Levy here. Generally, they go either like stonewall setup with d4 and c3, but the c4 move catches black slightly off guard. He plays pawn to c6, maybe e6 is more to the point with knight e7. Knight to c3, knight comes out to f6, and now Levy taking a bit of time, asking the crowd that I can't hear you. There's a live audience of more than 1100 people sitting there and cheering for their favorite players. And Levy Rozman taking his time. He's down to 9 minutes 17 seconds. He pushes his pawn to d4, weakening slightly the e4 square, and Sagar also enjoying himself there with the crowd shouting things like GM Levy, GM Sagar, both of them, of course, struggling to become grandmasters, but they are definitely someone whom the crowd enjoys watching play. And Levy brings his bishop out to e2. Well, the bishop is well positioned here. He would like to go castles, maybe then b3, bishop b2 could also be on cards. And now an important moment. Do you play d takes c4? c5 is also an option to strike in the center. There's also bishop e6. But Sagar goes bishop to f5. And this is a move which is quite normal. You are taking advantage of the e4 square white castles, and now d takes c4 makes a lot of sense. And look at Levy there trying to spur on the crowd. Knight e4, a mistake, maybe not a big mistake, but a small error here. The reason is that white can now play a very nice move, queen b3, putting pressure on d5 and b7. Will Levy go for this move? He thinks for a bit. He has 8 minutes 30 seconds and he plays it. Queen to b3. An important moment in the game now because there is pressure here on d5. You have a few options that you can consider here. Defending b6, maybe b7, you can go b6. But after cd, it does weaken the light squares a bit. Although after knight takes c3, b takes c3 and cd5, black should be completely fine. So b6 does seem like a good option here to push the pawn forward. But it's not so clear. The other options can be queen c8 defending, but then you are a bit worried about your d5 pawn in the center, which is the reason why Sagar is thinking so long, and he must take care of his clock. There's no increment here. Only when you reach down to 1 minute do you have 1 second increment. He takes on c3, knight takes on c3, and Levy clearly must take back with the pawn so that he bolsters the center here. Taking with the queen would run it opposite to the bishop, and Levy asking the crowd to calm down. By the way, he's such a wonderful entertainer. He's making this event very, very enjoyable for the crowds who have turned up in big numbers. Queen comes to b6. Maybe queen c7 was better, because now after queen b6, White has many ways to continue. One of them is to take on d5, pawn takes, pawn takes, then you can take with the queen. So maybe c takes d5, queen b3, a b3, c d5. Let's just have that on the board. Takes, queen takes, pawn takes, and now c d5. And white is slightly better after c4. I mean, this is a very pleasant position for white. So Levy is thinking about these possibilities. Take on d5. There's also pawn to c5 as an option when you don't want to take on b3. Queen c7, and black is doing quite okay here. So pawn to c5 is one option. The other one is bishop a3 attacking the e7 pawn, and he goes for it. Bishop comes to a3 attacking the e7 pawn. Now tough moment, because if you were to play bishop f6 defending here, you have to be careful about knight e5, and then g4 g5 could be on cards attacking the e7 pawn. So clearly that is dangerous. Bishop a3. The other option is rook e8 defending the e7 pawn. That's also possible. There's also a way to just simply give away this pawn, although I'm pretty sure that's very difficult to do. But yeah, this is possible. And while bishop a3 is played, Sagar is trying to think, because I think rook e8 is going through his mind, but the problem could be take, queen takes, a, b, c, d, and he plays rook e8. He plays his rook to e8 here, and he kind of figured out that after takes, this variation, take, bishop b5, trying to attack here, there is knight to c6. So rook e8 is on the board, and Levy is now deciding on what he should be doing in this position. The heart rates of both the players pretty much under control. Pawn to h3 played, planning to go g4 here. And again, an important moment here. I think one of the things you can do is to go knight to d7. Just finish your development. And after g4, just put your bishop into e4. Although even here, knight d2 attacking the bishop is slight discomfort for sure. So h3, Levy asking these important questions to Sagar and putting him under some pressure. And Sagar is thinking here. He is down to 6 minutes on the clock. And one option is to simply push the pawn to h5 to stop g4, and he does exactly that. Pawn to h5 played. And Levy Rozman now, I think, must take on d5. C takes d5 must be taken. Well, the ideas are there. CD, queen b3, because if you take CD, queen takes d5, white is clearly better. So queen b3, a b3, cd, and it looks like the position is around even, but c4, knight e5 coming in, rook c1, bishop moving, pressure down the a file. Too much happening there. Levy down to 5 minutes 50 seconds, both players having similar time on the clock. And Levy is assessing his options here, and he goes queen to a4, a very interesting move here. Maybe the idea is that if you go knight d7, he wants to play c takes d5. C takes d5 and then make use of this slightly shaky position of the knight. Although the bishop protects it, there's no easy way. Like knight h4, there is maybe just queen e6 defending the bishop and knight. So queen a4, a very interesting move. The other option is pawn to e6, and I think Sagar is deciding what to do here. He goes queen a6. He puts his queen on a6, offering a trade, and look at Levy there. He was surprised with this move because after queen a6, knight a6, pawn takes d5, pawn takes d5, bishop a6, ba6 is completely fine for black as the bishops are very strong here. So maybe cd, knight a6, and then here you can play the move c4, claiming a solid edge. Will Levy go for this? 125 is heart rate of Sagar, 108 is Levy's heart rate. And Levy Rozman here has to decide his next decision. What does he do? And he's waiting, he's dabbling with his next move and goes queen to b3, repeating the move here, putting pressure on d5 pawn. Sagar repeats with queen b6, and Levy asks the crowd, should I go for a draw? And well, what an entertainer there he is, as his heart rate climbs up to close to 140 there. I believe Levy has all the right in this position to continue the game, but he goes queen a4 and Sagar repeats with queen a6. The queen comes back to b3. And now it's a choice that Sagar has to accept a draw. I think he has no reason not to accept it. I mean, for example, a move like knight d7 is possible because cd5, the e2 bishop is hanging. But after rook f e1, you anyway have to make a decision. So Sagar goes queen b6. And Levy presses the claim button and asks the arbiter to come in and say, I'm going to play queen a4, and claims a draw. The arbiter asks Sagar if he agrees to a draw, and Sagar is like, I don't know if it's a threefold repetition, so can you please check? If it is threefold repetition, I'm happy with a draw, but otherwise I could decide to play on. So the arbiter checks whether it's a threefold repetition or not, and Levy says, like, this is threefold repetition, and Saga is like, if I play queen a6, it would be threefold, so it's my move and I could potentially change. So these are the things that they are discussing, but well, the arbiter's decision would be final, and the arbiter says it's a draw, and so a draw is agreed, the first draw of the match. And now it doesn't mean that the players have drawn the match itself, the game is drawn, but they move to 5+0 segment now, where the one who wins will get the full point. Both players go back to their teams in their dugout and return back for the 5+0 encounter, which will be even more exciting. Sagar to the crowd like, let's go guys, let's go, come on, let's fight here. Will be super exciting to see both these players. What opening can you play? Levy cannot repeat the same opening that he played in game 1, so f4 is off the table. What will he play in this position? Players are ready, the arbiter is ready, and it's time for 5 minutes plus 0 seconds increment, a handshake, and Levy's time begins. He opens the game with 1 e4. Sagar responds back with the solid e5. And Levy brings his knight out to f3, knight to c6. He wants to push his pawn to d4. The Scotch opening has been played, pawn to d4. And this is where Sagar stops. He takes, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn. And there are many different ways to play in this position. Knight f6 is the main line. There's queen f6, there's bishop c5. Many ways to play. And you can see that Sagar is a little bit out of his prep. He goes bishop b4 check. Levy is a bit surprised there. But the idea of this move is to provoke the pawn to come to c3, so that later the knight cannot develop easily on that square. And the crowd says, use your queen there, Levy, and he almost touched his queen to block the check. Bishop c5 played, and now one of the main moves here is bishop e3. Levy has 4 minutes on the clock. Sagar has 4 minutes 30 seconds. He plays his bishop to e3. Bishop goes back to b6. And now one of the main moves here is knight f5, and that gives white a small advantage and should be a very good move here. But Levy, is he well prepared with the nuances and the details of this opening? Not so sure, as he takes his time here. As Levy is thinking, the time is running low. Sagar has close to a minute's advantage on the clock with just 6 moves having been played. This definitely seems to be a nice thing for Sagar and Team India. And Levy now plays his bishop to e2, essentially giving up all his edge. Knight comes to f6, quickly attacking the pawn on e4. Levy glanced at the clock and he was like, my opponent's playing pretty quick. Bishop f3. The bishop is a bit awkwardly positioned there on f3, and perhaps now is the time to decide what are the possibilities. d5 is always on the cards in such positions. There's also knight e5, which can be considered to attack this bishop, and there's castles. These are the 3 main moves in the position, and let's see what Sagar chooses. In order to decide between them, he is taking his time and he quickly castles here. He has 3 minutes 51 seconds. Levy has 2 minutes 57 seconds. He also castles here. And now two definite possibilities. Rook e8 to attack e4, knight e5 to attack f3, and d5 is also not such a silly move actually. It's a nice move. It's a possible way to play. And once again Sagar taking his time, needs to be quick here, needs to speed up. And I think he was about to play d5 but then stopped, and now goes knight e5, the best move in the position. It's a good move. And now there are many threats, The knight could jump to c4, attacking the bishop and the pawn. The knight already threatens to take on f3, gaining black the bishop pair. There's also d5, which will come in. And then after ed5, you have knight d5 attacking the bishop here. No knight c6 business possible here. So knight e5 is very strong. And while the crowd, I think, is shouting, GM Levy, both players laughing there. Well, it is an exhibition game. The mood is quite calm there, but look at Sagar's heart rate. It is a 130 plus. Levy at 100 there. And now Levy brings his knight to d2 and instantly played pawn to d5 by Sagar. He's putting the pressure. 155 for Levy, 308 for Sagar there. He is having a great position and everything to play for here. Bishop goes to g5, pinning the knight. And now couple of possibilities here. Do you want to take on e4? But then knight e4 may be possible. But another nice move played by Sagar. He goes c5. I love this move, attacking the knight in the center. The knight has to move away. And where does Levy go? Look at his time, 1 minute 20 seconds. Sagar has 2 minutes 57 seconds, a better position. Everything looking upwards for him. If the knight moves away, you have a choice between taking on e4 or pushing the pawn. We'll see what is played. And Levy down to a minute. He goes knight to c2. And now the best move here is pawn to d4. Although one must agree that d takes e4 is also very tempting. Knight e4 would be a mistake because of queen d1 and then take on f3, take on e4. The pin is broken. But d4 there is bishop e4, which should be a fine move. The best possible move here is d4. And that's very nice actually. Sagar has 2 minutes 30 seconds. He pushes his pawn to d4. Levy takes cd4, cd4 taken. And we see here slightly better position. 50 seconds for Levy. 50 seconds. And there is smile on his face, but the position is tough. He needs to be careful how he treads here. Knight to b4. I love this move by Levy Rozman. He's trying to get his knight to d5 to put pressure on this knight which is pinned on f6. That's the way he wants to continue. Knight b4 played. And now Sagar's best move here is bishop e6. He has 2 minutes on the clock. Opponent has just 38 seconds. Let's go. Speed is important here because the opponent can make a mistake and Sagar's ready with his move. Go for it. Go for it. Bishop e6, the best move. Knight d5 played immediately by Levy Rozman. But now bishop takes knight. Should be fine. Take on d5. And Sagar thinking here, not so sure about what move is he considering. He takes on d5. And Levy has to also recapture on d5. So he takes ed5. And now one of the moves can be h6 to force him to take on f6 and then queen f6, which is a great position for black. But the other is simply to take on f3. And then queen takes d5 is hanging. Levy has 27 seconds. Sagar has 55 seconds. He takes on f3. Knight takes f3. Levy takes back. And now, well, tough moment here. h6 or queen d5. He takes on d5. But after bishop f6, gf6, the pawn structure is a bit spoiled for black. Queen d3. White has compensation. Levy has 26 seconds. Sagar 41. The difference is not too much anymore. Rook to d1. He brings his rook to d8. 18 seconds more for Sagar. b3 played. He brings his queen in, offering a trade of queens. The queen goes to b5. Trying to threaten rook e1 here. Trying to attack the rook on e8. 30 seconds for Sagar. 20 seconds for Levy. Queen d5. The queen comes back to d3. Do you want a repetition? Maybe the game could end in a draw. Look at the crowd egging them to draw the game. But Sagar continues. He goes rook e6. He wants to fight. Pawn to h3 played by Levy. King h8. Rook g8 can be an idea. He goes queen e4. The queen comes to b5. And now queen comes back to c6. He goes to h5 trying to attack there. Queen d5 offering a trade. Queen g4 check. King h8 played. Piece falls down. 11 seconds to Levy. 15 for Sagar. No time to waste. Rook queen f4. Rook g8 can be played here. He brings his rook to g8, threatening on g2. Rook e1. Bishop c7 is a good move, but he takes on e1. And all the pieces fall. Rook e1 and a blunder. Queen f6 is a mate, but he blunders with rook d1 back. Sagar is back in the game. The position is equal. Look at Levy's time. He's down to 4 seconds. He goes rook d2. Sagar plays bishop a5. Rook comes back d2. He pushes the clock. And the arbiter gives it a penalty. Because pawn was pushed to d2. It came back and then he put it back on d2 when he had pressed the clock. 15 extra seconds for Levy, who had 2.8 seconds and could have very well lost on time. Sagar is a bit confused here. Queen d3, but a check comes in. Blunders, takes the bishop. Things completely going haywire. Bishop blundered, rook blundered, pawn blundered, and he's shaking his head there. Queen g5 check, king h8, and he loses on time. Levy Rozman wins, and well, he asks the crowd to give it up for Sagar there, but in the end also Levy's a bit confused why he got 15 seconds, because but it was that pawn push and then adjusting slightly in opponent's time, and it's 4-0 for USA with this win.